This is not a Chinese virus.
This is not an Italian virus.
Viruses do not have ethnicities, religion, sexuality, or gender.
But our community does.
And if you hurt or threaten someone because of those things, you'll have a lot more to worry about than COVID-19. When you attack a member of our community because of their ethnicity, the color of their skin, or where you think someone is from,
then you have attacked us all.
And the second video here is from the San Jose Police Department.
We have a message for anyone who might target our Asian community with hate or harm.
因为种族而攻击别人是一种严重的犯罪。
Chúng tôi sẽ truy nã và bắt những ai phạm tội này.
我们经过特殊的训练，能够鉴别和调查这类关于种族歧视的罪行。
We take hate crime seriously. If you attack one of us, you attack us all.
Hello everyone, 大家好，感谢大家的支持和参与。Thank you very much for being here today. I hope you and your family are safe and healthy in this tough time. And thank you to Yuyuanshe, the Society of Heart's Delight, for organizing and hosting this webinar. My name is Wu Fan. I live in San Jose. I'm a writer. And I'm also a co-founder of the Society of Heart's Delight. I'll be the moderator today. For today's webinar, my colleagues and I have consolidated a lot of questions from our audience. And we will ask these questions in a short while. And we'll have a few minutes at the end of the discussion for more questions from the audience, maybe just 1 or 2 questions due to time restraint. And so if you have actual questions, please feel free to submit them through the Q&A button on your screen. And so we will receive those questions. After panel discussion, the Society of Heart's Delight will have 2 special announcements. And I hope you will stay to hear some really exciting news from the organization. Today, we're very honored to have 2 very wonderful speakers. They will discuss the law and safety amid the COVID-19 pandemic and answer some most urgent questions from our Chinese and other Asian communities. Our first speaker is Eddie Garcia, the San Jose Chief of Police. Chief Garcia joined the San Jose Police Department in 1994 and became police chief 4 years ago. As you may know, San Jose has one of the lowest crime rates of any major cities in the US. That says a lot about his leadership. Chief Garcia, you were born in Puerto Rico and moved with your family to San Jose at a young age. I wonder how this experience has shaped your approach in your work. Do you mind saying a few words about that, Chief Garcia?
No, thank you. I really appreciate being here. Thank you for having me. It's a great question to have. I remember the answer to this question is the same answer that I will give you that I gave at the end of 1991. I've been a police officer since 1992, and it's the same answer that I gave nearly 30 years ago. And it was, I love the diversity of the city. You know, it doesn't matter where anyone is from. It's just a beautifully diverse city that we live in. And I've always said before that it doesn't matter where you're from. I was born in Puerto Rico. I learned how to speak English here in San Jose. But the dynamic that I have is I understand what it feels like to be a stranger in a new place. I understand what it felt like for my family to go through it. Although Puerto Rico is part of the United States, we spoke a different language. I didn't speak English when I got here. I learned how to speak English in San Jose. And so, although I'm Puerto Rican American, I think I can relate to a lot of our residents that are strangers that come to San Jose as strangers, and how I remember feeling when I got here, how I wish we were treated when we got here, And now I have an opportunity to give that back to my community.
Thank you so much, Chief Garcia. Our second guest is Jeff Rosen, Santa Clara County District Attorney. DA Rosen joined the Santa Clara County District Attorney's Office as a prosecutor in 1995 and is a nationally recognized leader in criminal justice reform. DA Rosen, you are Jewish American. Some of your family members actually suffered in Nazi Germany before they moved to the United States. How has this family history impact you, impact your work and so your view about justice?
So in answer to your question, my family's personal history has deeply affected not only why I became a prosecutor, but how I conduct myself as a prosecutor. As you pointed out, my father and my entire father's family were all in Nazi concentration camps for more than 5 years. When my father came to this country, he also didn't speak English, and this was a new place for him. And while there wasn't really justice for my father or for his family because of what happened in Poland and in Germany during World War II, it certainly has given me the drive and desire to pursue justice for everyone in Santa Clara County. And it's what I've devoted my career to, in making sure that everyone is treated fairly and respectfully by our criminal justice system, regardless of where they're from or what they look like.
Yeah, without further ado, I just want to jump into the questions. And thank you very much to our audience for submitting these questions. And we're actually looking forward to hearing the answers from Chief Garcia and also DA Rosen. We just watched 2 brief videos about DA office and the police department's determination in fighting the crimes and also protect our communities. So here are the question. What are the things the police department and the district attorney's office of Santa Clara doing to protect the Asian American communities during this special period? I think people just wanted to have an overall picture of what you do for the communities. Chief, could you start first to give us an overview?
Sure. First of all, I'll start by saying we're here to protect our entire community. You know, to begin with, all of our residents of San Jose. We've made that point clear since the start of the shelter in place that we were going to be operating business as usual. We didn't want our community there was enough to be fearful with regards to COVID-19. We didn't want public safety to be something that our community feared. And so we've been working very, very hard. Officers have been working very hard to ensure that we've taken the criminal element off the street the best we can. With regards to our Asian American community and our Asian community, one of the things that we've messaged and that we're sending out loud and clear is the fact that we will not tolerate hate of any kind to any members of our community, particularly our Asian community, with regards to some anecdotal stories and stories that we've heard that have been occurred and how individuals have been targeted. We're not going to tolerate that. But overall, you know, as some police agencies and other departments somewhere else may have to tweak the way they've been operating, we're operating the same way today as we were operating well before the shelter in place occurred. And so we've got amazing police officers that are doing an amazing job day in and day out, protecting this community in any way they can.
Thank you. DA Rosen, do you mind saying a few words about the office?
Sure, I echo and agree with everything that Chief Garcia said. And what I would add is that my role as the district attorney is to both investigate and prosecute all manner of crimes that are committed in Santa Clara County. And we prosecute around 38,000 criminal cases a year. The vast majority of those are misdemeanor offenses, more low-level offenses. And these are responsibilities that are laid out in the Constitution of California for the district attorney to do. So I think a way for some of your viewers and listeners to think of the role of the district attorney is that we're really the people's lawyer. We're the lawyer for the community. And during this time of the shelter-in-place orders, we've been very focused on any kind of hate crimes that are being committed or being thought of being committed against members of our Asian American community. As I'm sure many of your listeners know, about 35% of our county is Asian American. It's the largest group in our county. And so, the Asian American community is very well represented in the DA's office, in the police department, and in really all aspects of our society here in Santa Clara County. And we want to do everything we can to make them feel safe.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. I'm sure everybody's probably just like me, reading news many times a day. And so I think we have a lot of information about what's going on. And on the other hand, so some of the news is very alarming. Many leading media have reported a surge in hate crimes against Asian Americans. An online reporting center recorded nearly 700 discriminatory acts against Asian Americans in the US in just a matter of 1 week. So that was a very alarming number. The victims included elderly and children. And though I have not personally experienced myself, really haven't gone out that much, these days, but I have friends, I know people who have experienced harassment and verbal attacks. So, and it was very sad for me to hear their stories. As a mother of 2 young children, honestly, I worry about them being taunted or being harassed or being called names by other kids. So I have a question for Chief Garcia. So for Asian Americans, how should they respond if they encountered a verbal or physical attack? How about the road rage? Where should these incidents be reported? And what is, a process is like? I think people really want to know if they encounter such incidents, what they should do to really protect themselves. So actually this question for Chief Garcia. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the question. And first of all, let me echo everything that you led up to the question that you asked. We're sad as well. We take hate crimes and hate incidents, and I'll get to that in a second, very, very seriously. We always have. One of the things that I'm very proud of is that we try not to operate in a time of crisis. So although now we're seeing more incidents of hate nationally, this is something that we have been prepared for a very long time, because unfortunately, there is a dark side of people that comes out from time to time. We know we've done studies, and from 2015 to 2019, over 60% of the hate motivated incidents or crimes that we have involve race or ethnicity. So from time to time, those things spark up as well. One of the things that we've done in our police department, we have a very thorough hate crime policy. And one of the things that I would say to anybody who feels that they're a victim is to get to safety and call 911. In whatever order that is, get to safety, call 911. Hate crime is something that we have a policy on. It's one of the largest policies we have in the entire department. And what we really want to do is ensure that people know we do 2 things at the San Jose Police Department that no one had to tell us to do recently. We take reports on hate crimes and on hate incidents. A hate crime is a physical act that's against the law that's motivated by hate. What a hate incident is something that may not necessarily be a crime, but still motivated by hate. As an example, someone screaming at someone at a stoplight, that's based on hate. If those things occur, I want people to ensure that to get to safety, to call 911, because we take reports on both of those. Not only do we take the report on the hate crime, because for obvious reasons, because it is a crime, and we're simply not going to tolerate hate, but also the fact that we don't tolerate hate is we're doing something that not necessarily is done on any other type of incident, and that's taking a report on something that isn't necessarily a crime in it by itself, because we feel that anything that's motivated on hate is something that we need to be aware of in case it continues to be an issue and leads to other things. So we take it very seriously. We take the reports. We've done a lot of outreach in our community. We've done a lot of outreach right now in the shelter in place, a little bit difficult, but earlier in the year, we launched a program called Safe Place that we targeted with Citibank and with Starbucks and with some other businesses, where if you're a victim of a hate crime, that you can go directly into those businesses and they're trained to call the police and know how to work with a victim of a hate crime. And so it's something we take seriously. I'm proud to say that it's not something that we started now in a moment of crisis, but it's something that we worked on before crisis so that we can be prepared in the unfortunate case that we see today.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's really good to know. You're so determined in just fighting for the community. Next question is for DA Rosen. So, I mean, in response to the increasing harassment and also some hate crimes, and some Chinese communities actually have begun to organize civil self-defense neighborhood watch groups. I actually was personally invited to such a group, in my neighborhood. And that was, the message was pretty brief, but I have to say, I genuinely felt, people were worried. So I wonder, what's your take on such neighborhood self-defense watch groups? Do you have any suggestions of how they should interact with each other and help other neighbors? Are there any special organizations to help with learning how to organize these kind of neighborhood groups?
So first, I understand and agree that there are people that are concerned. There are Asian Americans that are concerned. They know someone who's experienced a hate incident, or they've seen a report of a hate incident. About a week and a half ago in our county, we filed charges in a misdemeanor hate crime case for a hate incident that escalated into a crime that happened in a grocery store. A Vietnamese couple was targeted. But I want to emphasize that this county, Santa Clara County, a population of about 2 million people, is a very safe county, and it's a very diverse county. There are about 35% Asian American, 30% white, 26% Latino, about 3% Black. And so this is a very diverse community, and we have a long history of getting along well with one another, respecting one another, and treating each other fairly. So what I would say as to the concern that some Chinese Americans have about their safety, I certainly think that neighborhood watch groups are a good idea. I live in the north part of Santa Clara County. There's a neighborhood watch group that's been in existence in my neighborhood for a long time. It's a mixed community that I live in, some white, some Asian, some Latino, some African American. I think those are good ideas. I think that I would caution a bit about vigilante groups arming themselves. I think that could lead to more confrontation, not less. I think we have a very good police department here in San Jose with the San Jose Police Department. And I want to echo what Chief Garcia said, which is that if someone experiences a hate incident or is yelled at or targeted, they should call the police. And the police here will take that seriously. And I want to add something. Chief Garcia said, even if it's not a hate crime and it's just a hate incident, yelling and screaming at someone, yelling ethnic slurs. Of course, we all know how hurtful that can be. It is something that should be reported to the police, because when the police officer takes that report and talks to the perpetrator who said those terrible things, it sends a message that that's not tolerated or appreciated here in our county. It's not the way that we talk with one another or treat one another. So that's a reason to report those incidents, even if someone is not physically attacked. And the other reason to report that incident, even if it's verbal, is we want to send a strong message, even for verbal offenses, that those aren't our values here. That's not how we treat one another here, before those verbal assaults escalate into physical attacks. So I really want to encourage all of your listeners and the members of your community to report these incidents to the police, because the police take this seriously. And if it's a crime, my office takes it seriously and will prosecute it very strongly.
Yeah, thank you, DA Rosen. I live in a neighborhood I really love. People helping each other, really sending positive message, and especially around this time, people helping each other with grocery shopping. They do a lot of things. So, I really wanted to see, the community just being strengthened, through this ordeal. And I have a question for Chief Garcia. I actually went to your Twitter account, and in one of your recent Twitter posting, and you wore a T-shirt that said, "Don't weaken." That's a cool T-shirt. It's a black T-shirt. And you said, let's go, let's keep grinding, and we'll get through this together. I really love this message because we are having, we're facing a lot right now. The whole, our lives turned upside down, our work and our career, a lot of things are affected by this COVID-19 pandemic. And I know you and your team are keen on building a very strong community. But with increasing, I understand you kind of been telling us, basically we are working together to really fight hate crime, and we are strengthening the community. But on the other hand, we still see the increasing, COVID-19 triggered discriminatory acts against Asian Americans. And I was just talking to some friends the other day, and some of my Asian friends said actually they were afraid to go out, by themselves. And should we really feel safe? And what kind of precaution should we take? And what should we be looking for or paying attention to? This question is for Chief Garcia.
Well, thank you for your question, and thank you for following me on Twitter. One of the things that I really try to do is I want to be positive. There's a lot of negativity right now that we see, and you know what? I have a kind of a statement that I use all the time that works for me, and it's if we don't panic, they don't panic. And I really want to practice the fact that we got this under control. We're going to get through this, and we're only going to get through this together. I'll tell you, and I'll echo the words that DA Rosen mentioned, the fact that we live in one of the safest, largest cities in the country. And so I certainly don't want our community to feel fearful. I'll say this, one of the things that have dropped, all of our major crimes have dropped significantly since the COVID, since the shelter in place began, already in a very safe city. I think some of the programs we have, some of the reporting mechanisms that we have for people to report crime or report hate crime or things of that nature are working well for us. We don't see a significant rise here in this area either. Not to say it's not an issue anywhere else, but the reality of it is, and I think DA Rosen alluded to it, we treat people in a different way, I think, than in some other places where I think there's a vast amount of respect we have for one another here. And so we don't see an alarming rate of any type of hate crime going up, but that doesn't mean that we cannot still be ready for it too. People need to look out for just things that happen suspiciously. If they get spoken to in the wrong way because of language that's hateful, those are things that need to be reported. Staying together. I know we have to keep 6 feet apart. We have to practice the rules that have been given to us by the county. But if you are gonna, if you are gonna leave the house, which we shouldn't be leaving the house right now, except for things that are essential, make sure you make your trips and come back to your home. And things of that nature. I don't want to turn into what we're going throughout the shelter in place any different than what I would tell someone if we weren't in shelter in place. You really have to ask yourself, take the shelter in place out of it, take the COVID-19 out of it. What would we do realistically as residents to make us feel safer when we're not in shelter in place? And if we practice those things, I think we're going to be really well off. Again, I just want to close this portion of the question with just saying that we are in a very safe city, and the officers, I've said, it's business as usual. You're not going to hear from this police department that we're taking it easy on any crime, because as DA Rosen knows, that is not in my vocabulary. And he's been incredibly supportive. And so I think that helps with the community knowing that this police department has your back and has this community.
Yeah, thank you, Chief Garcia. It's really good to know, we can feel safe in this community. Today, actually, some of the audience, they are not really from our community. They're from elsewhere because they just really wanted to hear, how San Jose, how our local communities are really handling this together. So I think they will benefit from, listening to you and DA Rosen too. The next question is for DA Rosen. This question is kind of a little bit sensitive. Some people talk about it publicly. Some people actually talk about it secretly. So it's about gun ownership. So many news channels have reported the rise of gun ownership among Asian Americans amid the pandemic. Some of these Asian American gun owners, they're first-time owners. So when they were asked, why did they want to purchase a gun? And they said they wanted to have it to protect themselves and protect their family. So I wanted to ask, because this is something actually a lot of people in the audience, they really do have concern about. And they wanted to know more about gun ownership. So what professional training does someone need to buy a gun in California? And who can own a gun to protect themselves and their family? And what kind of laws do we have around gun ownership? And also, where can people go to learn about other regulations related to gun ownership in California, such as what kind of behavior is justifiable self-defense?
So let me answer that question in a few different ways. First of all, I want to reassure people that crime remains low in San Jose and Santa Clara County. And as Chief Garcia pointed out, all major categories of crime have actually been lower the last month during the shelter in place than they were last year at this time. Nonetheless, I understand that there are people in the Asian American community that are feeling a little bit anxious. One of the things that I thought was so powerful about the video produced by the District Attorney's Office and the video produced by the San Jose Police Department that you showed at the beginning of this program is to see the Asian Americans that are in leadership positions within our community. The Asian American is not the other in San Jose or Santa Clara County. It's part of our community. Police officers, prosecutors, and I think over the last few weeks, as we've learned more about COVID-19 and the coronavirus, we've seen more Asian American faces, whether they're doctors or nurses or public health officials. So I just think that I want to be careful about people being overly concerned that they may be targeted, because there are very strict gun control laws in California, and because guns are very dangerous and cause a tremendous amount of harm in our society. So it is legal to own and purchase a firearm, but it's a very dangerous thing for one to have, and you should think really carefully before purchasing one and be very careful with that. We have a very strong police department, and they respond very quickly to crimes. And so while I think people should be vigilant and cautious, I don't recommend people buying guns. That's up to them to decide, but it's not something that I think is necessary.
Okay, thank you very much, DA Rosen. I think that's very good advice for people who are thinking about that. This question is also for you. I read that you are a strong believer of smart justice. And in your words, smart justice is healing crime victims physically, emotionally, and financially, because that's what a civilized and caring community does. I think our community is civilized and our community is very caring. Yes. And, but the reason why I brought this up is kind of related to the recent news about, the news has reported that California jails are releasing prisoners early.
Yes.
So will this impact the safety of, the Chinese Asian community? And how does smart justice apply to fighting crimes in the wake of the pandemic?
So you are correct that jails in California and in Santa Clara County as well have released a small number of inmates because of the coronavirus and because of concerns about the virus spreading in the jail and endangering not only the inmates in jail, but then spreading beyond the jail walls. So over the last month, we have released approximately 1,000 relatively low-level offenders early from our jail. They're released early. They maybe had another 30 to 60 days remaining on their sentence, and they're then on confined to their home on kind of supervision. but I'm very careful about who gets released. The judge has the final say, but the DA's office is really in charge of this process of sorting through who's released and who's not. And we're very, very careful about that, because the last thing that I want is someone to get released and go and commit another crime and victimize someone. I mean, really, I became a prosecutor to help the victims of crime. So we're very focused on making sure the people that are getting released early are relatively low-level offenders. And we've seen, as I say, in the last month, that the crime rate has not gone up in our county. It's actually lower than it was a year ago. And then the second thing I want to say to you is, I think that the way that we bring justice to our community is not only holding perpetrators accountable for crimes, particularly hate crimes, but also healing those victims. Sometimes sending the perpetrator to jail for a long time is one of the things that the victim needs, but maybe the victim also needs counseling, needs financial restitution, needs to be made whole. And so one of the things that's so important about prosecuting a hate crime is one of the things we often ask the judge to do is to require that defendant not only to go to jail and to serve a long sentence, but to then take classes and volunteer to help organizations that help victims of hate crimes, because we want to try to educate this defendant, this perpetrator, to learn the error of what they were doing and come out a better and more tolerant and more respectful citizen. That's really in everyone's interest.
Yeah, thank you for your clarification, because there's a lot of misinformation around. I'm glad actually you gave such a holistic view about this issue. My next question is for Chief Garcia. There were large-scale police officer infections in New York, so we all read about that. And your safety is our safety. We want, we want police officers to be healthy, to be able to do their regular job, to fight the crime, to protect community. While we normal people can practice social distancing and shelter in place, it's sometimes it's just not possible for police officers to do that. So I wonder how San Jose Police Department provide the police with sufficient and necessary epidemic protection. And has the SJPD prepared a plan for officers infected with COVID-19 in order to prevent large-scale infections that could lead to patrol shortage? Do San Jose police and the supporting staff need more protective materials like masks? We all know we have a shortage of PPE. So I wonder if police officers actually they need more of such items. So I wonder what's your take on that?
Okay, so one of the things that I will say that I'm very proud of the men and women of this police department, very proud of my administration. We started the planning for this probably 2 to 3 weeks before the shelter in place was initiated. And what that enabled us to do was enable us to train our officers. It enabled us to order more equipment. It enabled us to come up with some plans. Generally speaking, we do our briefings, which is where all of our officers unite in one place inside a building to talk about what's going on in the city before they go on duty. What we did, one of the first things we did was eliminate that. And so now every single beat, every team meets somewhere in the city outside, and their sergeants meet them out there. So that way we lessen the chances of something happening inside the building. Our investigations unit is doing split shifts. Half the units are coming in during the daytime, during the morning. Half the units are coming in the afternoon, and they're switching up, doing a lot of social distancing, doing work from home if they can. We changed our uniforms for patrol and made a wash and wear uniform so officers wouldn't have to get their uniforms dry cleaned right now. We have officers with masks when they meet individuals in the community. One of the things that people have to understand many times is, as a law enforcement officer, we're used to communicable diseases. It's part of our job. And so although obviously COVID-19 is something that is extraordinary right now, we deal with contagious diseases often, and it's something that we do have a plan for. You know, one of the big things that we've done as well is we got priority testing for our men and women. Is when they feel symptomatic, we get them priority tested. That way, the quicker we know whether they're infected or not, the quicker, two things. One, we can get them the help they need. And just as equally important is to understand if people that were around them, do they need to be quarantined or can I have them back to work? And so that's been really very, very helpful for us. And so far, you know, I thank God, but right now we've had 5 department members that have tested positive for COVID-19. We've had 1 civilian staff member. We've had 1 reserve officer, and we've had 3 regular sworn officers that have tested. They're doing better. The reserve officer was in ICU for a while, but he's doing better now. The other individuals are doing better. But one of the things is we haven't had more within the department. And I think that's part of the reason is because of the precautions we took. One of the things when you talk about PPE, with us, one thing we have to be wary of is, yes, right now we're dealing with COVID-19. But when this is over, while some other individuals and other jobs may not have to deal with it with COVID-19 anymore, we may have to deal with the next issue that comes up. And so for us, we have to ensure that we manage our masks and manage our equipment properly to ensure that we have them for a long time. Because again, today is COVID-19, but we have to prepare for the next crisis and hope to God it doesn't happen. But if it does, we have to be prepared for it. So, you know, I can't tell you like, you know, we could always use masks. Obviously, you know, we had given some masks to our medical partners earlier when we had them, but we have to manage. I mean, no one's going to have an unlimited number of masks when you're a frontline responder, because there's going to always be something else that we're going to have to deal with. So we feel that we've done some proactive measures. My heart goes out to Commissioner Shea with the NYPD and what that department's going through. I could not even imagine, but those men and women continue to come to work every day, the ones that they can, as your police department does as well, knowing the fear of what's out there. So we keep being proactive, making sure our officers know we have a plan. You know, one thing I'll finally say, you know, in this line of work, your police officers know that there's going to be things that happen, but that we have to come to work. But at the end of the day, I think what they're looking for from their administration, from myself and from others is, do we have a plan for them? That, yeah, they understand that they got to come to work, but do we care? Do we have a plan? And I think we've done that. Obviously, is it perfect? Probably not. But we certainly feel that we're doing a lot of things to keep our officers safe.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's good to know, like overall, our officers are safe and healthy. And I hope those officers who are sick, they will recover very, very soon. And we need them.
Thank you. Yes, we do.
And as for PPE, if you know, that's one thing actually, as a nonprofit organization, Society of Heart Disease, and we actually did a couple of fundraising. And we actually donated a lot of masks, including N95, to local hospitals. So we wanted to also hear from you. And if you ever feel you needed to reach out to the community to get more support.
Well, thank you. You'll be on the top of the list if I need more. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. We are almost towards the end of questions because we are on time strain. But so far, you know, we've been doing fantastic well. Now, this is questions for both of you. I understand both of you are very, very strong. You are very experienced community builders. You have a strong belief in building a very diversified, very healthy community. And you know, everyone has a role in stopping hate and creating a safe, inclusive environment. So how can the Chinese community unite with other Asian communities? How can everyone, regardless of ethnicity and race, help each other? Can you recommend any experts, government, or community organizations who can help to answer these questions? You know, I would love to hear from both of you about your, you know, how your recommendations or your advice for our communities.
So let me say that I think there are a number of strong community organizations that help to build bridges between different ethnic communities, including the Asian American community. I'm very proud that in my district attorney's office, the National Association of Asian Prosecutors organization called NAPIPA was born about 6 years ago. And it's a group of thousands of Asian American prosecutors all over the country who one of the things they specifically do is try to be a bridge between a prosecutor's office, between law enforcement, and with the different Asian American communities in the communities where they are serving. In addition, we have not just a diverse staff, but specifically, we have a number of Mandarin speakers in the DA's office, whether they are executive prosecutors, investigators, members of our victim services team who help crime victims. We speak all of the languages that the people in our county speak, including Mandarin. So I think that we are certainly an office that wants to partner with other Asian American groups to help build more tolerance for diversity and respect for others in our community. I think NAPIPA is a good organization. I think this organization that you're a part of here is also excellent. And of course, there's the Asian American Community Association, AKI, which has been around for many years in San Jose, also a good organization that helps to serve the Asian American community and build bridges with other ethnic communities in our diverse county.
Yeah, thank you. Chief Garcia, do you have some advice for our community?
Sure. I mean, first thing all that I'll say is that together we're stronger. One of the things that I like to, to portray is the fact that power perceived is power achieved. And the stronger that we look as a community, regardless what community groups we are, the less inclined I think individuals will want to prey on us and on our community. So that's first and foremost to me. I think that we just need to show that, hey, we understand, and although we're going to be cautious about things, we know that our police department, we know that our district attorney's office has our back. So we're not going to walk around fearful. We're going to walk around empowered because we know that we're special. We know that we matter, and we know that we're part of the city. So it's an attitude to have, but I think it's important for us to have that we're stronger together. To echo some of the things that DA Rosen had said. I mean, from AKI, the Asian Law Alliance, La Raza Roundtable, the Black Leadership Kitchen Cabinet, and then we also have probably about a dozen resources that are in our policy, in our hate crime policy that we have, that we will be able to share with all the viewers today, also at some point, because there's websites that are attached to them. But there are a lot of resources out there. No one needs to think that they're on their own. The police department, to me, is one of your first calls you should make. But if for whatever reason you don't feel comfortable doing that, or you need more help, there are definitely resources out there.
Yeah, thank you. So what else, you want our community to know? Anything. You and the DA Rosen have talked quite a bit. You gave us a lot of good answers to our questions. So what else do you want us to know as a community in this special time?
I think that I want the members of the Asian American community to know that we see what's happening. We know that you are concerned, and we are here for you. We want to help you if you're a victim of a crime, if you're a victim of any kind of crime, and particularly if you're the victim of a hate crime or a hate incident. The chief and I sent out those videos because we want to empower victims to come forward and to report what happened to law enforcement. Sometimes an individual might feel a sense of shame, or is it something that I did? No, we want you to report that to the police, and we want to confront those perpetrators and get them to change their ways. And we want to remind our community what our values are, that we treat everyone with respect and with fairness and dignity, regardless of where they came from, because that's how we treat people here. And we want people, if they see someone that's attacking someone or saying something hateful because they're Asian American, we want others to be upstanders, to help diffuse that situation. So I think that's the message that I want to send. We are all in this together. We're going to get through it together, and we're stronger together.
Thank you. How about Chief Garcia?
Well, that one's it's tough to follow that, but as a chief law enforcement officer at the county, that's what the district attorney is good at, is making those final comments. I'll tell you that I'll echo the statements that Dean Rosen made. I want to just share with the community that, again, we're not operating in a time of crisis. We want our Asian community to know that we have them, to know that they're special, to know that everyone's special. To know that they're part of the fabric that makes San Jose great, and that we will treat as seriously any hate crime or incident today in the midst of COVID-19 as we will a year from now when we're not in COVID-19. I want to make sure that everyone understands that this type of incident is treated very seriously regardless of times that we're in, and we stand behind that. We've done a lot of things within the police department to do that, and we're going to continue to prove that we're here for our community, and that this police department remains fully operational. We're lucky enough. I mean, our officers are amazing, the men and women. Our communications, our dispatchers are outstanding, that know that as difficult it is to deal in these type of situations, that we're here for them. And that's the most important message I can give you. And then I want to be able to also let our audience know that we have Officer Mario Shen, a Chinese American officer on our department that wants to say a few words. Mario?
Thanks, Chief. Hello, everyone. My name is Officer Shen. I've been a San Jose police officer for 8 years now. Just wanted to echo what our chief said and just remind our community that even during these times that we are here for you. If you need us, please do call us. And we take hate crimes very seriously. And I'll say this again in Mandarin for our Chinese-speaking guests. 大家好，我是沈警员。我在 San Jose 的警察局工作8年了。就是要来向各位问个好，介绍我自己。要提醒大家，我们一定严肃处理仇恨犯罪。有需要的话，给我们打电话。那以后希望可以再有机会来跟你们讲。谢谢。Thank you.
Yeah, 谢谢沈警员。We actually have. I just received a text message from my colleagues. We have a lot of questions from the audience, but of course, today we want to have enough time for all of them. So we'll probably just have time for 2 to 3 questions. And our first question, I would think that this is for Chief Garcia. This is from our audience, Xiao. Before 911 can come, what should I do? Wrong? Record the bad behavior for reporting? Should I say something?
The number one thing that I will say is ensure your safety. You know, I would say that having a recording, you know, does not mean that the case won't get looked at seriously or there won't be investigated or what have you. Our main concern is to make sure you're safe. No, I wouldn't get involved in a war of words with someone who's spouting off hate and is a criminal. Let me just say this, because a lot of people talk about it being ignorant. If it's a hate crime, taking part in a criminal act. So I want to make sure that people are safe, they get to safety, and they call 911 and let our officers take it from there.
Thank you. Next question is for both DA and the chief. This is from Helen Wang. Without going into details about specific cases, can you explain to us how a potential hate incident against Asian American or any ethnicity group for that matter is processed through the police department and then the DA's office? What's the legal penalty if one is convicted of hate crime? So Chief Garcia, do you mind starting first?
Sure. I mean, actually, it's the way it usually, I mean, normally it starts with us and it goes to the DA's office. So this is the perfect way to start it. So back to what we said, you know, obviously a call is made to 911. Officers respond. They interview the victim. They interview any potential witnesses. They try to make an arrest if possible, interview a suspect. We try to find motive, which is obviously very important in this case. And motive can take the form of a lot of things. Motive can take the form of things that are said, things that are written. They can be searching someone's property or vehicle or home and find things that are obviously hateful that can lead to better evidence surrounding the crime itself. If we can make an arrest, fantastic. If we cannot at that time, we write a report, get all that information. If we cannot identify an individual suspect, we'll continue to work on that case until we can. Once we do, we write everything that I mentioned up in a police report. and then send it over to our district attorney's office for them to make a finding as to whether or not there's enough to prosecute, if they need us to conduct more follow-up in order for this to occur. And then from then on, I think DA Rosen can go with what they do for her.
No, I think that's very helpful, Chief. So after the police have identified the suspect and they've done their investigation, they'll bring it to the DA's office. And then we have prosecutors that will review the reports that the police department brings us. There might also be videos or audio recordings or photographs that they'll bring to us to review. And we will file those charges when we believe that we have a strong enough case to convince the jury beyond a reasonable doubt that this crime was committed. And what we're looking for is, number one, an underlying crime. Maybe it's an assault, maybe it's a battery, maybe it's a threat to kill someone. We're looking at an underlying crime. And then when we add the hate crime allegation to that, what we are saying is that a significant reason that this perpetrator attacked that victim is because of that victim's ethnicity, their religion, their sexual orientation, their national origin. And so then if we see that, we will then argue to a jury that yes, this defendant, this criminal attacked this victim because this victim was Asian American, or this defendant thought the victim was from China or from Vietnam or was whatever. That's what we have to show. And the penalty, if the jury finds the person guilty of the biased motivation as well as the crime, is a longer sentence, anywhere from an additional 1, 2 to 3 years in prison. And the sentence that the judge is supposed to impose is supposed to include that defendant take classes about hate crime victims and actually do volunteer work when they get out of jail for organizations that help hate crime victims, so that defendant will learn that he was wrong about what he was doing and won't do that again. And we hope that will actually make the victim and that community feel better, because now there's a person that's learned that it's wrong to target another person because of that person's ethnicity or because of how they look.
Thank you, DA, and thank you, Chief. And I know a lot of participants want to ask more questions, but our time is up. I just want to let our participants know, if your questions was not answered, don't worry about it, and we will do the follow-up. And we will put together a list of follow-up questions and send it to the DA office and the police department. And I'm sure they will be very glad to answer your questions. And thank you again, to our wonderful, wonderful guests, Chief and the DA, and for their time, and so for their replies to our questions. And I know how busy you are, Chief and the DA, I know how busy you are. So if you need to leave the room, leave the meeting right now, please feel free. There's a little button, leave meeting. So, and please feel free. But thank you very much. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you for having us. Be safe and please stay healthy.
Yeah, same.
Well, first of all, I want to say, I hope that you all stick around just a little bit longer. I know that our superstars have left, but we actually do have some really exciting announcements. My name is Pat Tejans. I lived in Chengdu, China for close to 7 years. 我的中文的名字就是小鱼，我的小名就是小鱼。So 认识你们很高兴。So 大家好。I care deeply about our Chinese community and our Asian community here in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm from San Jose and I'm an ally. And I want to speak to all of you directly and let you know that although it's easy to read the news and see all of the bad news, I hope that you know that there are way more people like me who are allies, who would speak up, who would say something, who would be there for you as a witness, who would not just be silent in those types of incidents. So I think it's really important to know that you have support, we have your back. So today I would like to share a brand new campaign that I'm starting as an ally called People Sending Love. And for this campaign, I am going to get photographs of people all over the US sending signs showing their love and support for you, because I think that it's really easy to focus on the negative. So what I'm going to do today is just share with you very quickly some pictures here that have come in so far, and we're going to go ahead and get a lot more people to do this. But here you can see our allies who have already participated in this campaign. We just received a $1,000 grant, and we have more potentially coming in. You know, this is one picture here to show one of your allies. And I just want you to all know that you are loved, that the people around the US do care about you. And some of these people just really want to reach you guys and on this particular one and let you know that you have allies, that you're not alone. So again, I'm one of the founding members of the Society of Heart's Delight, or Yuyuanshe. We're based in San Jose, but we're covering all of the San Francisco Bay Area. We're really excited to do more seminars. And I did get word from the chief's office and from the DA's office that we will have follow-up. We'll have a way to answer the questions that we didn't get to today. So nice to meet you. And I'm pleased to introduce to you Michelle Zhang, who is the founder of Yuyuanshe, or the Society of Heart's Delight.
Hi, 大家好，我是愉园社的创始人 Michelle。今天非常高兴有这么多的朋友加入我们的网络研讨会，希望我们专家解答能给大家带来很多实质性的帮助。这次活动能成功举办，我们要特别感谢 Zoom 的全程赞助及技术支持。我们还要特别感谢我们湾区华人社群组织，如硅谷高创会、谷雨书院、湾区文化沙龙等很多组织和好朋友的大力宣传支持。如果大家想进一步了解愉园社，请一定访问我们的官网愉园社 .com， 关注我们的 Instagram、YouTube 频道。我们这次活动会请志愿者剪辑并加上中文字幕，发布在我们的 YouTube 频道上，所以大家可以更加方便的分享给更多的朋友。我们还有 Telegram 聊天群，请访问我们的官方网站，找到我们的聊天群，能和志同道合的朋友们一起分享思想，畅所欲言，是我们愉园社的核心价值观。我们下期的活动会关注疫情下心理健康及社群帮助方面，敬请期待哦。下期活动见。
That's great. Yeah. So it looks like we're actually a little bit ahead of schedule. If you can believe it. We still have a lot of you in here. So I know some of you might be curious about us and the Society of Heart's Delight and who we are. We're going to have more videos in the future. So in the question and answer section, if you have suggestions for videos you'd like to do, for webinars you'd like to do in the future, or if you have questions about our organization, please feel free to ask in the question and answer section. Otherwise, we will be following up with an email to sort of reach out to all of you to see who would like to join us in the future. And Cindy, do you have do you have any closing thoughts or anything that you'd like to say as one of the founding members?
It's been such a pleasant experience to working with people who share your views, and we wanted to do this together. We wanted to create a positive message. Despite all the bad things, we want to be positive. We can make a difference. We are united together to fight the virus, to fight all kinds of crimes. And I'm just saying, let's do it together. 同心同愿同行.
Yay!
And if any of you are interested in, volunteering or being a part of what we're doing here and the work that we're doing, please feel free to reach out to us. Our email is info, that's INFO, @yuyuanshe.com. So yeah, I didn't expect to end early.
Okay.
See you guys
Thank you so
next
much.
Time.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.